Hebrews 10:25 says, "Let us not forsake the meeting together as followers of Jesus for instruction and for worship, as some are in the habit of doing." Verse 26 says, "But let us encourage one another, and all the more faithfully as you see the day of Christ's return approaching." So in other words, as Jesus followers, we are to love the church that he planted, and we are to not forsake, not give up on, not walk away from, not turn our backs on the gathering, the physical gathering of the people who are following Jesus, that intentional gathering of getting together to worship together and to learn together. And can't make that a habit. But then he says, and that we are to be even more faithful to that the closer we get to the day of Christ's return. Now, we're closer today than we were yesterday, which means I should be more committed to the gathering of Jesus's church than I was yesterday, because I am to be more faithful the closer we get to the Lord's return. There's something that happens when I am committed, when I am more faithful to the gathering with other believers. There's this little word, encourage. We are encouraged. We are encouraged, and we are encouraged to encourage. We are challenged to be people who encourage one another. We build each other up. I had a pastor, Brother Jimmy. He used to say that being in a church was like being in a fire, and that you compare a fire to Christianity. And as long as your little ember, your little coal is up next to the heat, you're going to stay hot. And you're going to be useful, you're going to put off warmth, and it's going to be a good thing for everybody. But if you allow one of those little coals to be separated from the fire, two things happen. One, the fire isn't as hot or as intense as it could be or should be. It's not as useful. And even more importantly, that little coal that got separated from the big fire, it starts to die quickly. It loses heat, it loses energy, and it grows cold and turns to ash way more quickly than it was supposed to. But this is why the writer of Hebrews is encouraging us to be more committed than ever to the church that Jesus started, because he wants that intensity to be what it is, to the church would be a blazing fire, lighting the way for many people to see. And when your little ember gets cast aside, or when you let your ember walk away from the fire, you're going to grow cold, and you don't want that. You need to be encouraged. Sure, the church is flawed. Sure, the church is messed up. Sure, there's no perfect church. All those things are true. None of those things matter though, because the Bible tells us to never forsake that. That we can't get in the habit of giving up on or walking away from the gathering, the church of Jesus Christ, because he paid for it with his blood. Let me tell you who has not given up on the church. Jesus. The reason I know Jesus has not given up on his church, he's not here yet. He gave the church, his church, a mission to accomplish. And once that mission is accomplished, he will return. The more faithful we are, the more encouraging we are to one another, and the more we gather and do what we're supposed to do as his church, we could actually make that day come quicker by fulfilling our mission. So, are you one who is in the habit of forsaking or giving up on the gathering, the meeting of Jesus followers for worship and instruction? If you are, that's part of your habit, your little fire is going out. And I don't want that for you. I want you to know and experience the love and encouragement that can only come from obeying the scripture and making church a priority. Let us not forsake it, because Jesus has it.